Welcome back everyone to another glorious Hearts of Iron 4 mod spotlight, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the glory that is TNO Toolbox. Well, I'm not sure if glory is the right word, but it is definitely a thing. Now, in case you don't know, the New Order, the TNO mod, was released a while ago. It's about what if the Nazis won World War II, and it starts in 1962, and the entire premise of the mod is actually that's pretty loud in terms of music. Please lower that a little bit. The entire premise of it is that essentially you're trying to well, if you're not playing as the Nazis, you're trying to contain them, and they're kind of falling apart. So with that regard, you know, basics of TNO in case you do not know what this is. Basically, the Toolbox update, or at least the update that they called Toolbox, just released, and it's got a few interesting features, so let's take a look at them really quickly. This is just the point of the video. If you want a full TNO mod spotlight, go look at my channel. I have one that explains the game much better. Anyway, what do we have here? Sorry for the keyboard sounds, but they're gonna be in. Anyway, basically, I'm gonna be going off of the patch notes for a little bit, because yeah. So basically, when it comes to the major update, it's about the economy system, or you know, they basically added a whole new economic system, which is a bit insane when it comes to Hearts of Iron. Because if you're looking at this and you're like, what the fuck is going on? You're not weird. We have a lot of stuff to sort of unpack over here. Now, essentially, they've added an economic calculation where sort of every country has a GDP at the start, which is sort of based on the stuff that is in your country, the amount of people there are, sort of the technology level, and a few other modifiers. And basically your economy, instead of revolving around factories as it used to in regular HOI4, it is now relying on GDP, which is not represented in the building slots. It's represented at the state and national level. So basically what you have is that the GDP then turns into production units, or PUs, basically your IC. And this is the way you now basically acquire the factories that you go using in your country, right? As you can see, basically up here, it tells you how many production units are gaining from GDP. Now, I'm not sure exactly how the ratio of GDP to production unit is supposed to work, if it's, I don't know, exponential or, you know, linear or whatever. But currently, it tells you, like, we have 25 production units from GDP, and it tells us how much GDP we need to gain one more production unit. So in this case, we would need 1.66 billion additional points of GDP. How do you go about gaining GDP? You go about it through a growth mechanic, where you have a base growth rate, and the base growth rate is then basically added up with other modifiers, whether they be country modifiers, like coming in from possibly your national spirits, possibly your laws, you know, quite a few things, possibly your economic system even, maybe, over here with the free market capitalism. Yeah, plus 0.10 GDP growth multiplier. This is basically just like representing your economic, sort of macroeconomic tendencies. Oh, you can do more consumer goods. Yeah, not even sure what that does, actually. So by producing more, both our economic growth as well as our stability will benefit, but we also need more to allocate more of our resources towards securing consumer goods. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, if you want to grow, also consumer goods appear to be a pretty good idea. For example, maybe there's countries that are better off on the whole consumer goods. Let me see. How are you in terms of consumer goods? Yeah, you have... Okay. Consumer goods production modifier 32%. Let's see. Okay. UI needs a bit of a refresher. So... yeah, that increases your consumer goods production, but does it tell you how that impacts growth? Question mark? Plus 6.90 base rate. How do I see what your base rate of growth is based on? Yeah, again, it's not exactly something that I've had too much time to play with, but yeah, there's like a base nominal growth plus 6.90% from base rate. How do you determine your base rate then? Yeah, frankly, I have no idea. To be completely honest. But hey, it might be just something that you're assigned at the start, but whatever. Other than GDP, you've got inflation and debt to GDP. Now, these three values basically play off of each other, and what you're sort of trying to accomplish is as little debt to GDP as possible. Depending on your country, more inflation or less inflation might be a good idea, because, you know, if you're doing some deficit, you might want to, you know, bump up the inflation a little bit, which is going to decrease your growth, which is like, when it comes to economics, oh boy, we don't want to get into the inflation rabbit hole, but basically, yeah, don't want too much of it, simply put. Now down here, your country to function needs to spend on stuff. Now this is where basically the economy screen intersects with the base game, because with the base game economic system, because you're still building some types of buildings like Naval Dockyards, the synthetic refineries, fuel silos. This is a new building, thermoelectric plant, which basically provides you with energy that is required to power your other shit, and if you don't have energy, it's bad. Nuclear reactor, which produces power, I believe. Enrichment plant, which is, I think, what you need to make nuclear weapons. Missile silos, which increases your strike capability. I'm not sure if only when it comes to nuclear weapons do we have is the missile silo important? Nuclear triad. Yeah, I think, okay. Yeah, that's the strike capability over here. Yeah, an insufficient delivery infrastructure will make our arsenal look less threatening to other countries, decreasing our nuclear stockpile score. Essentially, nukes go into your score. We'll get to the score a little bit later. So, you want nukes! Nukes. Everyone loves them. These are American mechanics, right? Oh, the CIA. Oh! Well, that explains why I was getting overthrown. Okay. Interesting. There's a CIA mechanic. Everyone loves CIA mechanics. Now, essentially, yeah, to do things like build buildings and you know, maintain your army at a decent state of readiness, you need to pump some of the money that's coming from GDP into taxes and into, you know, your costs, right? And if you don't do that, you're gonna get a whole bunch of bad bonuses. Like, you know, you decrease your army funding, that's going to decrease the things. You know what I mean? And if you increase it, it's hopefully going to increase them. So that's your army spending, your naval spending, your nuclear spending. What is this? Okay, your research and development, your procurement, which would be increasing your factory output, of course, because yeah, that's how you're acquiring weapons, logistics, maintenance. Yeah. So this is just click to expand. Oh, damn. Okay. Is this only for the army, or is there like an expansion for the other costs as well? Well, you've also got your science, which feels kind of similar to research and development. Oh, but that's army research speed. Okay. I'm fairly certain they're supposed to be. Oh no. Oh, okay. So social expenditures. Got your healthcare, your education, your pensions, your unemployment. So unemployment. Really now, where's my unemployment? Where is my unemployment factor? Is it here? Huh. I've got no clue where I'm supposed to see what my unemployment is, because I've got my GDP, you know. Yeah. I don't see unemployment ever anywhere, but okay. I guess unemployment factor is a thing. Your pensions, which is going to do what? Pensions actual effectiveness. Oh, this might go into the poverty, right? The poverty rate change. Oh yeah, unemployment policy, refugee policy, trade union policy. Okay. Oh, right. It goes into here. Okay, so currently we have trinket subsidies. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay. Interesting. So that's going to basically jump us up towards the next levels of this. Haha, I see what's going on. That's really interesting. Healthcare and educations, and I'm guessing that yes, yeah, I'm guessing that these are for healthcare and education. Wonder how long that spending. Our policy effectiveness is 62%, and it's stagnant at a base rate of 0% and a rate of 0% from modifiers, and it's a low minimum wage, so 62%. While here, 68% as well. Interesting. Really interesting stuff. You'd really need to be playing around with this more to sort of realize what like you're supposed to be doing. Anyway, administration. We've got administration funding, which, ooh, stability. Security funding, which is security actual effectiveness. Security actual effectiveness, and that would be, I guess, one of these, right? Up here, maybe. Political policies, social policies, security. There we go. Modified by 41% by an administrative budget of 50%. Now, what happens if I... Oh, hello? Am I allowed to unpause? Okay, there we go. What happens if I unpause? Will the changes load, like, instantly? No idea. It says modified by our administrative budget of 50%. So if I do this, it's supposed to change this, right? These things always take a little while to update when it comes to, yeah. Says our administrative budget to 50%, but I don't know, whatever. Basically, you know, you play around with this, eventually you figure out how the fuck it works. So yeah, it's really complex. I like it. I like sort of the idea that you're able to sort of get more involved with sort of the normal running of a country, because as many people know, TNO is a mod that's more focused on sort of a Cold War style, where you don't have, you know, you're not getting into major wars every, like, you know, couple of years or whatever. So a lot of people complain that it was basically just like a visual novel with a game. You know, you're clicking things and you're reading them and you don't do much more. But this allows you to sort of get more engaged with the economic aspect, which in the previous iterations of the mod were not like particularly interesting. It was just like HOI4 with it was HOI4 economy with a few twists. Now it's like, holy shit, you know what I mean? So basically what you do over here resonates into your regular Hearts of Iron 4 sort of mechanics, like the industry, like your stability, your modifiers, and eventually, basically, again, it allows you to build these buildings, which aren't factories, because the factories are gained from just pure GDP. They are buildings that basically give you modifiers that impact your country, or, you know, they're synthetic refineries. Naval Dockyards, interestingly enough, are still kept as, like, factories that are on the ground and then go... Yeah, for some reason, the dockyards are still work like in the base game, which, yeah, okay, I can dig. Now, then you've got your infrastructure, air bases, anti-air, radars, naval bases, land forts, and coastal forts. Now, infrastructure is really important, actually, because it not only gives you more resources, which might be... Oh, is that a model? Why is he... It looks like a T-50. Oh, wait, it's that thing with the cupola. Really high quality, by the way, on the model. What the fuck? It's that thing with the alien cupola. Right. How do the German tanks look, I wonder? Sorry for getting sidetracked. Hello? Mod, game. Don't crash, please. What? Okay. Tag Germania. It's gonna take a little bit to get done, of course. Oh wow, helicopters. Oh, helicopters even got a little helicopter. Cute. I would like to not be on this guy though, with the cancer eyes. Oh yeah, he looks like a leopard. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I'm digging that. Okay, so going back to the economy mechanics, infrastructure is pretty important because it goes straight into your GDP. Like, the more infrastructure you have, the more GDP growth you're gonna have. And, yeah, that's pretty good. Now, you've also got a credit rating, which is going to, of course, decrease your interest rates and make your debt a bit easier on yourself. And then you've got the economic sphere mechanics to finish off the sort of economy mechanics. Now, actually, one more thing. Trade works like a normal HOI4, except surplus resources actually go into stockpile, so that, you know, yeah, when you go over, your factories can produce from the stockpile rather than from trade, and that's good. And but a thing that a thing that right now I don't like is the fact that you don't really have control over whether or not... you don't really have a lot of control over trade. What do I mean by this? Basically, in HOI4, you click on the country that you want to buy things from, and if, you know, if they don't hate you, and if you have the... and if they have the resources, then you buy the resources directly off of them, right? So in that way, you have control over it, and you know what's going on. In the TNO toolbox, what happens is I just put out there to the market that I want to buy, you know, 30 rubber in this case, right? Oh no, this is export. Oh, right now Nazi Germany is exporting rubber. Which would be a country that would be importing things at the start. Probably no one, because maybe Japan. Maybe Japan starts with some imports, so I can show you. Japan, how are you doing? Are you importing anything? No, you piece of shit. But basically, say I needed oil, right? Yeah, right now Japan is apparently exporting oil somehow. Wait, how does Japan have 70 oil? Where is that from? Where's that from, you Japanese dogs? What the fuck? 70 oil? Maybe, oh. Maybe they have some resource rights in some places? Yeah, they've got resource rights in Indonesia. Right. Yeah, say I wanted to, like, import something that I'm not exporting. Well, say instead of exporting something, I'd be wanting to import them, right? Oh no, increase. Like, I wanted to import tungsten. What I do is I put out there that I want to buy 50 tungsten. The game tells me that this is going to cost me 5 production units. And then I have no idea, because after a while, you get the tungsten. And I have no idea if this is based on, like, this sort of... the direct feedback of I can import from this country or I can't import from this country has been completely removed. And so you're just kind of, like, dependent on the AI offering to sell the resources. Now, I haven't had time to really play a full game with the mod, so with the updates, so I don't know how the resource mechanics are basically end up mattering or not mattering later down the line. And yeah, that's it's just kind of a big question mark for me right now. Now, when it comes to the economic sphere, which is our last economic mechanic, this sort of links to the other major change, which is the other major addition in terms of sort of global mechanics, which is the Cold War mechanic. Now, basically, what this is kind of like the Great Powers mechanic in Victoria, right? Where you have rankings. And at the beginning, you've got the United States of America, you've got the German Reich, and you've got the Great Japanese Empire that are, you know, the first three. And the way that is achieved is through either army size, navy size, GDP per capita, nuke stockpiles, army professionalism, which I'm not exactly sure how you get that. I wonder if anywhere it tells me. Yeah, I wonder if you have an easier way to... check how your scores are obtained, or, you know, what they're based on. Maybe the ledger? Like, there is a ledger in this game, right? Yeah. One of the greatest additions of Anna. Okay. Army. Battalions, divisions. I'm guessing... I'm guessing basically these are the main things you want to know that are going to give you score. But perhaps even military policies might contribute. Don't know. I love how no supervision. It's like do whatever. Yeah, I would need to know exactly how those scores are calculated. But basically, yeah, what happens is scores are calculated from a bunch of things. The better the things, the more score. And if you had debt, that's going to lower it. If you have poverty, that's going to lower it. Oh boy. Epic music, not gonna lie. And when it comes to, so that's the military, that's the economy. And then you've got a diplomacy score, which basically the more powerful your faction, your sphere is, the more that's going to contribute to your diplomacy score, because the military and economic scores of your puppets or your spherelings are going to contribute to your overall are going to contribute to your overall score. And whenever a crisis pops up, I'm guessing basically some mechanic is going to pop up, perhaps in your decisions, perhaps with events, or perhaps with focus tree areas that get loaded, where basically if you win a crisis or whatever, like for example with the South African War, if the Americans win the South African War, I'm guessing that's going to give them score. And that's sort of the way that you quote-unquote win, right? I'm not sure exactly if if exactly this contributes in any way to the potential collapse of one of the members of the Cold War or whatever, but yeah. Now, another thing that I find interesting is that I think the way the game is set up, basically any country that rises in score could get involved in the Cold War as a great power, right? Like if we're talking about Italy, I'm not sure, again, if I can see my score. I'm not sure if I can see my score. I'm guessing this is my score, right? No, that's the American score. I kind of wish I could see, like, my country's score, right? That would, yeah, like, over here, you can see in the economic tab, you can see the Italian Empire, and you can see the Iberian sphere, and the Argentinian sphere, and the Brazilian sphere. But, I can't see my scores, right? Yeah, economic ranking 4 for whatever, but I cannot see my Great Italian Empire scores, which is interesting UI decision making, frankly. Right. Production units, government expenses ledger. Yeah, no, I don't think I can see my score anywhere. Yeah, and basically these major powers go at it, and you've got tension mechanics between them. They can sort of if the tensions reach 100%, then war breaks out, and you've got to avoid the funny nuclear war. Which basically, when it comes to the funny nuclear war, you can see that sort of how many nukes you've got and how they're sort of partitioned between. Wait, what? Nuclear triad, 8 nuclear submarines. This is mine, right? 12 strategic bombers. Yeah, okay, this is yeah, for example, like, why in here with the rankings you don't see your ranking, you see someone's ranking, but here, instead of seeing someone's nukes, you see your nukes. Whatever. yeah, basically, the more nukes you've got, the more, score you've got. So build nukes. They're good. Apparently. Yeah, that's it for the sort of Cold War and economic mechanics, which were the main ones that were added by this update. Now, when it comes to the sort of Cold War, there is another mechanic that is involved in the Cold War, which is the Proxy Conflicts. Now, I can't show you those right now because, of course, these come, these come basically as the game progresses, right? And when a proxy conflict starts, as far as I understand, it's going to basically be integrated with this UI, and the countries that are able to project power where the crisis is occurring can sort of intervene in one way or another. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be implemented with decisions or focus trees, but hey, that's another thing to sort of keep in mind. And yeah, another thing that they did is to sort of flesh out the flavor of the mod. They basically overhauled the ideology. Instead of just having whichever amount of ideologies they used to have, like 8 or whatever. Basically, all of the ideologies now have sub-ideologies. Well, maybe not all of them, but like most of them. And so that's supposed to be telling you sort of at a glance exactly what alignment the country you're looking at is following. So, you've got, yeah, basically it's not just communism anymore. It's like, are these guys Bukharinists or Stalinist? You know what I mean? Or maybe they're even Islamic Marxist, which is nice. Yeah, that's just kind of another thing that you're supposed to be able to explore. Now, they've also overhauled a few of the major countries, like Japan. Got a pretty big update with sort of its content getting reworked. England got a bit of reworking. Burgundy, I suppose, if I recall correctly, got a bit of a rework. A few of the German unifiers. Damn, love that Nazi salute on the moon. Whoever's making the graphics for this mod must be having a hell of a lot of fun. Yeah, basically, some of the German Civil War contestants got some reworks. Apparently, the funny Yunnan clique, which, in case you haven't played the mod, after a while you've got a sort of uprising in Yunnan clique. They're, at the beginning, they're in sort of the Japanese sphere. But what's going to happen is that they're going to rise up and basically... They're going to rise up and try to, destroy the pro-Japanese Republic of China. That got a major rework, apparently. And these are the sort of main reworks, I suppose. Now, one other thing that sort of got added is a bit of content for a few minor countries that still don't have focus trees or have extremely minor focus trees, but are now able to be somewhat playable. For example, I know Turkey was one of such countries. Now, Turkey also got a lore change. They're not National Socialist anymore. They used to be National Socialist, now they're not. Now they're still, it's basically still the Republic of Turkey, the sort of oh, okay. Got a bit of a nothing happened, it looks like. But basically, yes. They used to be Nazis. Now they're back to the CHP, Cumhuriyet Halk Partisi, the Republican People's Party. They don't have a focus tree. They don't have no decisions or anything, but they've got content, so you can try to play them if you want. Of course, they've got a GDP mechanic. Oh no, poor credit rating. What's the Turkish GDP? Can you see? It's 10.68 billion dollar rose. You're still half the way over to Argentina to be part of the top 10 economies, Turkey. You've got some ways to go. Industry. Economy. Really interesting stuff. Yeah. I love how the Iberian Union has less of an economy than Argentina. That's pretty hilarious, actually. Basically, yes, there's a few countries that are now sort of... They used to be completely unplayable because they had no content, and now they have some content. For example, Scotland Forever, you know what I mean? Scotland Forever over here has got quite a bit of content. Canada got some content, even though they don't have a focus tree. Mexico as well. Brazil, now they have a focus tree. They used to not. Brazil's pretty epic. Not sure exactly how much content they've got, but they can probably do some. They can probably do some stuff. As far as I know, they can even intervene in some of the African wars that happen. And of course, they've got a lot of sort of political and military stuff to deal with. And they've got their own sphere, which is kind of nice. I wonder... Again, I'm not entirely sure if the sphere mechanics are very well fleshed out, or how you add people to your economic sphere. But yeah, that's a thing that exists. And yeah, Brazil... Come to Brazil, pretty epic. What else of major relevance? All the Japanese governments can now collapse. Yeah, Japan has been super, you know, yeah. They've also done some reworking to sort of the Russian borders. Unfortunately, the Jews... by the way, what I'm about to say is a joke. Please do not take this as, you know... Please do not take this as an actual... Yeah. The Jews, in their eternal crusade against the glorious Mladorossi, or whatever, removed Berezniki that used to exist. So now you cannot do wholesome 100 Soviet Tsar Berezniki. Yes, it is very sad that they have lost their fight. Yeah, they've reworked around... Right. Let's not click on the Aryan Brotherhood again. I don't want to look at the Aryan Brotherhood. Oh, God. Anyway, Anyway, essentially what we've got is that some of the borders of the Russian states have been reworked. Some of the Russian states themselves are a bit different. For example, Zlatoust, unfortunately, was trolled out of its market liberal ideology. I know there's been a bit of a rework to what happens in Buryatia and Irkutsk. Oh, that was the wrong capitalization, but thankfully that's only cosmetic. Yeah, I suppose there's been a bit of a rework to Buryatia, Irkutsk, and the Siberian Black Army. It looks like, oh, Jesus Christ. That's the reunification of Russia, the General Assembly. Oh, God, yeah, of course. Everyone's going to have their own insane mechanics. I do love how there's the legacy of the Siberian plan over here. So the Siberian countries appear to have their own sort of mechanics. escalated by the Central Siberian Republic at the peak of its power. The Siberian Plan was a comprehensive initiative to lay infrastructure for the transformation of Siberia into the largest and most well-orchestrated industrial era on the planet. While the plan was unable to reach its full potential, much of the structure remains and can be put to use to better our own industry. Okay. All right, then. So yeah, Siberians can roleplay as industry builders, and yeah, there's even this cool little thingamajig. This cool little thingamajig where it's like, it's the anarchy, and it's the isolated settlements of northern Siberia or the wilderness of northeastern Siberia. So yeah, Russia got a bit of a facelift. Unfortunately, they still, as far as I know, don't have post-unification content for the Russians, so that's just like puts gun to his own head and shoots himself. Added skeleton content to Moscovian, as well as a new collapse setup. Added skeleton content to all the West African nations. Oh yeah, as well, like Free France, the Cameroon African state have some content, as well as some of the nations over here. And as far as I understand, basically what's supposed to be happening, so yeah, instead of just having the anarchy that gets turned into states, now you actually have states at the start. Africa is now able to have statehood in TNO. Wow. We have discovered not racism. Basically, as far as I know, the whole region now sort of hinges on a sort of war, or a brewing war, between the Pan-Africanists and Free France. Again, that's as far as I understand, which is kind of an interesting mechanic, because, like, you know, Free France obviously needs to have the African resources to reclaim France from the Nazis, which is a major long shot, but it's like, okay, you know, they're still quote-unquote, like, somewhat good guys compared to the Burgundian system, you know what I mean? And then you've got Pan-Africanists who are like, but you're still colonizers, get the fuck out. That's kind of an interesting little thing. So are you going to save France and doom Africa, or doom Africa and save France? What the fuck did I just say? Are you going to save France and doom Africa, or save Africa and doom France? Okay, there we go. I just said the same thing twice by mistake, because my brain works great. Yeah. Are there any other interesting things going on? Yeah, there's a few countries that have had insurgencies sort of revamped, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. Reworked England's economy system. The English Civil War is kind of different. New oil crisis mechanics. Again, these are sort of like later game things that can't really show you right now, but just know that they exist. Yeah, I'm just going for the massive fucking gigantic. Yeah, the massive, gigantic patch notes. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. That is pretty much about it. Now, yeah. The thing is, I haven't really played it that much at the moment, because there's the new DLC that's coming out, and I know I'm going to be busy playing that. And plus, if I play any saves right now on the TNO sort of Toolbox thing, they're going to be unplayable in just a few days. So I didn't really play it all that much, but from what I've tried, just a few years playing as England, some of the mechanics are enjoyable, and yeah, you know what I mean? There's no harm that came from this update. It's done a lot of good, and hopefully TNO is going to become the sort of Victoria-like Cold War, you know, Nazis simulator that it always wanted to be. We'll see. Again, one of the things that is just really saddening me is there's no post-unification content for Russia, but I'm sure that this takes like so much development work to make post-unification content for Russia that, like, yeah, you know what I mean. It's just kind of been driving me away from trying a lot of the Russian unifiers that I want to play. But hey, perhaps at some point I'll get me a full playthrough as Margaret Thatcher's England, perhaps in, like, you know, a few weeks or so. Yeah, with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.